It was the winter of 2005. I was a lieutenant in the United States Air Force, and I was stationed at Buckley Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado. The day that I recall in my mind was a day when the major I worked for came into my office, and he said, "Lieutenant Wyatt, I've got an opportunity that I want to share with you that I think you should consider. The Army's looking for an Air Force engineer to deploy with them for 12 months to Afghanistan." And I remember thinking when the major left my office, that just sounds crazy. He wants me to volunteer to deploy to a war zone with the Army for 12 months in Afghanistan. And as this crazy idea is bouncing around in my head, I couldn't deny that there's something pulling at me to do this. And, it made me think about all the times over the last several years of my professional career where I've really questioned whether or not I was really living out my calling in life. I mean, why was I here? What was I supposed to do? I can remember countless times waking up to my alarm clock uninspired about going to work. And so, I thought maybe going to Afghanistan was an opportunity to maybe get some of these questions answered. And so I chose to go. Arrogantly, when I went to Afghanistan, I thought I was going there to change it. But in reality, it turns out that Afghanistan really changed me. And the biggest way that it changed me is that it really broke my heart for its kids. I can remember countless times watching kids run around in the streets without shoes on, specifically in the wintertime. 2 feet of snow, these kids didn't have shoes, huddled around trash cans trying to stay warm with fires burning. It was just a hard thing to see, and I remember through those experiences that I made a commitment to those kids that I wouldn't forget about them. And, I made a commitment to myself that I was never going to forget my experience in Afghanistan. And so when I returned to the United States, I remember talking to people about the fact that I finally had some of these questions answered, at least, that I understood that my purpose in life was really to inspire kids all over the world, that I was going to fight for the hearts of kids who had few fighting for them. And what was interesting, as I shared this story with people, I started to understand that there's a lot of people walking around in this world with these same questions. There's a lot of people who wake up in the morning to their alarm clock uninspired about what they're about to do. There's a lot of people who question what their purpose in life is. And so it got me thinking, I wanted to figure out what I could do to not only achieve my great purpose, but to also mentor and coach other people on how to discover theirs and how to pursue it and achieve it as well. And so the answer to that question is where I found myself today in the work that I do now. And one thing I've come to understand in that process is that, I'm not perfect, that I don't have it all figured out. But what I do have now that I didn't is excitement. When I get up every morning and I don't have to hear my alarm clock, and I know I'm getting ready to pursue something that I feel called to pursue, it's just an exciting thing. I've also come to realize that I can't do this by myself. I've come to realize that one is really too small a number to achieve a great purpose in life, and that as humans, we really do need each other. I believe that life and wisdom are passed from one generation to the next. At least that's how I believe it's supposed to be. And so I'm just hopeful that by sharing my story, that others can find inspiration and courage to find their purpose and their story. In fact, it's funny. When I was sharing my story when I first returned, a lot of people thought I was crazy, thinking I was going to inspire all these kids. And I remember, quite honestly, being upset about that. But over the years, I've come to embrace this idea of being crazy, and I've come to think that maybe I am just a little bit crazy. And in those crazy moments, I'm just hopeful that I'm going to run into some other people in the world who are maybe as crazy as I am and as excited as I am to jump into the story with me and really pursue a purpose together.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
My name is Chris White. This is my story to change the world. Would you join me?